Today we're diving into a story that's, well, it's a powerful one. It's about a marriage, a single sentence, and the absolute chaos that follows. It's really a cautionary tale, about what happens when the one person who's been holding everything together finally just stops trying.
Just let those words sink in for a second. Imagine hearing that from the person who's supposed to be your partner for life. So cold, so sharp. Welcome to my channel, Her Warning. This right here, this is the story of how a relationship completely unraveled the second those 6 words were spoken. And more importantly, how one man's reaction to them changed absolutely everything. Let's get into it.
So you might be thinking this was said in the middle of some huge screaming match, right? But nope. It was actually during a pretty small argument, just one of those conversations about feeling a little distant, a little disconnected. But that one sentence, man, it was like a lightning strike. It lit up this massive problem that had been growing in the dark for months, maybe even for years.
And this right here really paints the picture of the imbalance that had been building. I mean, look at this. On one side, you've got all this effort, this emotional labor, the little notes, remembering tiny details, planning their evenings together. And on the other side, eye rolls, dismissive texts. He was out there trying to build a bridge, and she wasn't even bothering to look up from her phone.
And that night, it was like a light bulb went off. All the dismissiveness, the total lack of interest, it wasn't just a phase or a rough patch. He finally realized he wasn't her partner anymore. He'd become an inconvenience, an item on her to-do list. And that realization, it was a game changer. He decided right then and there that he was done fighting a battle for us all by himself.
So what did he do? Well, he decided he wasn't going to argue, he wasn't going to plead, and he definitely wasn't going to beg for her to pay attention to him. Instead, he came up with a much, much more powerful strategy. If making him happy wasn't her job, well, then he would just stop making her happiness his job. He decided to just hold up a mirror to her behavior.
And this is exactly how he did it. This wasn't some loud, angry protest. Oh no. It was a silent, calculated retreat. Those daily "how's your day" texts, they just stopped. The dishes she always left in the sink for him, they stayed right there. Those weekend plans he was always the one to make, crickets. He wasn't trying to get revenge, he was just matching the exact energy she'd been giving him for years.
And there it is. That was her very first reaction. Not, "Hey, is everything okay?" Not, "Did you have a tough day?" Just pure annoyance that her routine, the one he had been quietly maintaining for her benefit, was suddenly broken. You see, she never really noticed all the effort he was putting in, but she sure as hell noticed when it was gone.
And this wasn't just him having a bad day. As the days rolled into a week and then 2 weeks, this quiet emptiness he created in their home just kept getting bigger and bigger. The foundation of their relationship, the one he had been holding up all by himself, was finally starting to crack. And she couldn't pretend she didn't notice anymore.
You could just see her emotions start to shift. That initial irritation that he wasn't doing things for her started to change into something else. Suspicion. She could feel that something was deeply wrong in the house, but she just couldn't put her finger on it. Couldn't connect it back to her own actions.
And here we go. The confrontation. She finally calls him out for the exact same behavior that she had been showing him for months. I mean, the lack of self-awareness is incredible, right? She noticed he was distant, that he was cold, but had no idea that she was just describing a perfect reflection of herself.
And boom! That was the checkmate right there. He calmly took the weapon she had used to cut him down, her own words, and just handed it right back to her. Can you imagine the look on her face? Being forced to remember the exact conversation that set this whole thing in motion? Ugh!
And just like that, the entire dynamic flips. All of a sudden, she's doing all the things he used to do. The check-in texts, trying to make plans, these little token gestures. But you can tell it wasn't really about fixing the relationship. It was about her trying to get things back to the way they were, where she could be comfortable and he would do all the heavy lifting.
He actually overheard her saying this on the phone to a friend. And the irony is it's just off the charts. She was genuinely baffled. In her world, his caring was just a feature of their life, like the electricity or running water. It was supposed to always be on, no matter how she treated him. And now that the switch had been flipped, she was completely lost in the dark.
So the tension between them just got thicker and thicker.
until you could barely breathe. And after this painfully awkward dinner out with friends where everybody knew something was wrong, they finally got home and she just snapped.
And that's her first move. It's an accusation. See, she still can't process his behavior as a reaction to her own. In her mind, the only possible explanation is that he must be actively trying to hurt her, because the other option, that he's just showing her what her own indifference feels like, is just too hard for her to face.
And again, he just uses her own logic right back at her. He's not yelling, he's not getting aggressive, he's just calmly holding up that mirror again, forcing her to look at the consequences of her own words. He's connecting the dots for her in a way she absolutely cannot ignore anymore.
This is the gut punch. This is the moment the lesson finally truly lands. He basically asks her, how does it feel? How does it feel to be on the receiving end of what you've been dishing out for years? The neglect, the dismissal, feeling like you don't matter. And for the very first time, she finally understood the pain she had been causing, because now she was feeling it herself.
But where do you even go from there after a moment like that? You can't just apologize and erase years of neglect. The damage was done, the trust was shattered, and the man she had taken for granted was, well, he was gone. The biggest question was, could he ever come back?
He hears her just completely breaking down by herself, and the old him would have run right in there to comfort her, to make it stop. But he doesn't. He stays put. He lets her sit with those feelings, to really feel the full weight of the loneliness that she herself created. He knew that for any real change to happen, she had to face this alone.
And in this tearful, broken confession, the real truth finally comes out. It wasn't just a mistake, it was an assumption. She had taken his love completely for granted. She saw him as a permanent fixture, someone who would always be there, always putting in the effort, no matter how little she gave back. It's the ultimate admission of complacency.
And this slide really shows the massive gap between where they are now. She is terrified of losing him, making all these desperate promises to change. But he's moved beyond that. He's asking a much deeper, more painful question. Did she ever really love him? Or did she just love the comfort, the security, and the nonstop validation that he gave her?
And this is his big realization. This whole experience has fundamentally changed him. That man who would put her happiness before his own, the guy who would chase her and beg for a scrap of affection, he's gone. He doesn't exist anymore. And in his place is a man who's found some peace, some self-respect in being on his own.
And that's where he leaves it. It's not a hard word done, but it's something almost more devastating. Uncertainty. He's not sure he can go back to being that guy, and he's not sure she can truly change in the way she needs to. The entire future of their marriage is just left hanging by a thread. So what do you all think? Is there any coming back from this for them, or is it just too late? I really want to know your take, so drop a comment below. If this story hit home for you, please give this video a like, and maybe share it with someone you think needs to hear it. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Her Warning for more stories just like this one. Thanks for listening.